Hi everyone, welcome back to Pine Hollow Auto Diagnostics. I don't know what to say. We got another Volvo 2005 XC90 towed from North Carolina. Here it is. It comes equipped with fancy red calipers, really nice paint job, a pool of water in the passenger seat, cracked windshield, really weird windshield wipers that do something weird. I don't know. Anyways, this one actually starts and runs for about 3 minutes and then it becomes a beached whale. So I drove it up the driveway here. The towing company, actually a reputable towing company that delivers exotic vehicles, picked this one up. They said they weren't really planning on it, but it was on the way. Anyways, it's here, and the history is, again, very questionable. A lot of red flags. When you have a box full of modules, these are fuel pump control modules, mirror, that might be an engine control module there. The owner said that one day it was running okay and then just stalled out, and sometimes it would crank and start up, sometimes it would crank no start. Seems like a fuel issue. That's why all the fuel pump control modules are in the box. When I was driving up here, a couple times it was like, kind of cut out, and then it would pick back up. So perhaps, let's start from scratch, do a health report. I don't know, is this car worth saving from the crusher? We'll see. It only has 88,000 miles on it, so it can't be that worn out. But man, the interior here is questionable. I don't know if this thing was in an accident at some point. It was restored on the cheap, but let's try to figure this one out. See if we can recreate it, the stalling problem. Read some codes. Alright, so I'll have to ask the owner exactly which modules were swapped out or replaced. You can't just replace modules. You have to, do programming, synchronization. But we got a lot of problems in the airbag. That's fine. Power seat, ABS, yeah, faulty configuration ID, central electronics module, windshield wiper signal too low. That's why the wipers are kind of like trying to do something. Following systems are okay. Oh, we missed the ECM here. Brake pedal sensor, signal too high. Engine cooling fan control module, signal too low. The little fan on the engine computer under the hood is running all the time. Now we have a fuel pressure faulty signal, fuel pressure signal too low. Okay, so that's the one code I'm concerned about at the moment. Let's see, does this thing have a fuel rail pressure sensor? Indeed, it does. Right here. This must be the first year they put these on. I see electrical tape. I see U-Haul wire connectors. The engine itself doesn't look to be molested. What's going on here? More electrical tape. There's the fan that keeps on running. Cools the engine computer. You can hear the wipers keep trying to do something. Oh, geez. Wow, that locked in. Oh. Is that the rest position? Oh. Okay, maybe now they're happy. Yeah, just park the wipers right there. So, I just want to clear all the codes out, start it up, and on scan data, look at our fuel pressure reading. See if it's too low or what's going on, and go from there. Maybe I should reset these wipers before they cause any damage. Whoa, something really... the motor just started going... Bzzz. What is this? What are you doing? Why is that wire moving? There's a ghost. I should probably not connect the wiper arms. Wow. So the wipers have a mind of their own. The stock doesn't do anything, so that's probably through the central electronics module. But well, I'm just going to take them off for now. Okay, so I don't like this garbage right here. Let's see, relay ST1 is wiper high-low. Wiper on-off, headlamp washer. Okay, I don't like this. Just pull the wiper really completely for now. Deal with that crap later. Alright, so I'm going to clear out all the trouble codes. Then we'll rescan it, start it up. See what's going on. Alright, here we go. Key off. Key on. Okay, normal startup. Let's go into ECM. Okay, brake pedal, cooling fan, don't care. Data stream. Engine speed, fuel pressure nominal value, fuel pump duty cycle, fuel temperature, fuel pump relay. How about that? Okay, 65 psi. About 30% duty cycle. Everything looks okay. So we need to get this car to act up. Drive it around, see if anything funky happens. Oh! It just stalled out. We dropped to like 10 psi. Okay, the car is just idling here. I just closed the hood and it stalled out. Okay, let's turn key off. Turn key on. Okay, back up to 56. Starts up normal. Boom. Back up to 56. Okay. Let's see if we can keep it running. Like someone just turned the key off. Fuel pump relay's on. Okay. Okay, it does look like it's losing fuel pressure. But then it comes back. How do you explain that? We don't lose communication. So the fuel pump duty cycle stays at 33. Ooh. Okay. So, what would you do in this case? We're going right for this fuel pump and the fuel pump control module. Measure the current. See, maybe the fuel pump's going bad once it warms up a little bit. So it gets worse. It had to warm up for a couple of minutes, and now it's a crank, run, and within 10 or 15 seconds it just stalls out, loses fuel pressure for sure. I trust the sensor because when the sensors goes down, we stall out. So when we're at 60 psi, it's fine. It drops pretty quickly and done. Okay, do we have an actuation test for the fuel pump? No, we do not. So at this point, let's look up some wiring diagrams. Let's see where this fuel pump control module lives. I think it should be in the trunk because they have these little Velcro strips on there. I don't think it's under the car. It shouldn't be too hard to get to the wires here. And yes, we did set the 2 fuel pump pressure codes. So this little fan on the computer, they just spliced in a ground wire and tied it to ground there. By the diagram, you're supposed to have a power feed and a control wire on the engine computer to ground it when it needs to. So this is incorrect. We're going to remove this junk. Maybe it'll get rid of that code. And for the fuel pump, well, I don't think it's going to be that easy to get to. Just figure out the control module, according to this, lives on top of the fuel tank, which is also not easy to get to. So we have to try to get to a power feed somewhere between the central electronics module and the fuel pump. Alright, so let's do some research online. OEM wiring diagram. So Volvo obviously doesn't label their components, they just number them. And if you go to the redrawn diagrams, there are 2 versions here: late production and early production. So late production, you see the fuel pump in fuel tank, fuel pump control module on fuel tank. Looks like 2 fuel pumps. Okay, and this is the late. And the early production, it's similar. We have 3 fuel pumps. Like, why, Volvo? Is this really necessary? But it says fuel pump control module, top of fuel tank. And the wires here, there's a ground. Those 2 wires go to the motor. The yellow goes to the engine computer. That's the control wire, low current. And then this blue is the power feed. And the power feed comes from the CEM. So maybe that's why they're replacing this central electronic module. We need to get to the fuel pump control module because from there we can check the fuel pump, we can check currents, we can check the feed, the ground. This is the best testing spot for all our checks. So even if it's hard to get to, I think it's still worth it. If we go to service info here, fuel pump driver module, they say it can either be by the right rear wheel behind this fender liner, that's an interesting spot for it, or apparently under the right middle seat. And they say vehicles with fuel pump driver module originally located in the right hand rear wheel housing, you want to relocate it to under the seat. So where is this one? Well, I saw some wires by the right rear fender, and if you peel away the fender liner, there it is. There's our fuel pump driver module. So okay, that's fairly convenient. Let's just, I'm guessing I have to take off this wheel because I can't really get to the connector, and we'll do our checks right here. See what's going on. Are we losing the feed, the ground, the control? Everything's accessible, so let's take off this wheel. Alright, wheels off. Let's see what's going on here. I assume this thing has been replaced. Let's just check this pigtail. It looks a little a little crooked. Okay. Obviously everything's muddy, dusty. Uh-oh. Well, it's probably a red herring, but look at this. We got some exposed copper on the control wire, not on the power feed. That's the ground wire, and this white and black go, I guess, to the main fuel pump. So exposed wires like that, that's definitely not good, but as long as they're not broken, it shouldn't have anything to do with our electrical problem. So let me figure out a way, the best way to probe these. I can easily put a current clamp, let's say on the blue wire, and when our fuel pressure drops, we'll be able to see if we're losing current. Then we want to do voltage measurements, make sure this pump is turning. Alright, let's take a look at the setup of the scope. So I have a ground tied to as close to battery as possible. Right here on this nice clean lug. Now, oh, were the brake lights on? I guess that's why it's saying brake light problem, huh? Oh, that's not on. Anyways, at the fuel pump control module, I have 3 wires back probed. Now don't freak out. We're going to seal these wires. We're going to repair them really well because they're already damaged. So it's more reliable to poke a little hole than to try to back probe on the connector. We need to test everything with the module plugged in, obviously. So channel 1, the blue wire coming from the central electric module, that's the power feed. And channel 2 is going to be the little yellow wire. That's the control from the engine control module to tell this little, I guess, power transistor how fast to drive the fuel pump. So 2 channels, and then across the power feed and ground, I just have a little test light as an indicator of when we're getting power to this module. Now in scan data, at the same time, I want to look at fuel pressure, desired fuel pressure, fuel pump relay, fuel pump duty cycle, and fuel temperature. So let me set up the camera here so we can see both the scope and the scanner. We'll fire it up, and when it dies, we should be able to at least see what the problem is. Are we losing power? Are we losing ground? Are we losing the control? Something has to be faulty here, or maybe let me set up one more channel on the actual current going to the fuel pump. If we're not losing power and ground and control, then the fuel pump could potentially be faulty. Alright, hope you guys can see all the traces. I'm going to crank it, fire it up. Alright, here we go. Place your bets now. What's going to drop off? Still good? There's our current, about 10 amps, normal. So I'm thinking nominal value is desired fuel pressure right here. So it's at 58 right now. Okay, here we go. It's dropping, 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 and should stall out pretty soon. Oh, 13 psi. 23 psi. Boom. Okay, very cool. We even heard it. So let's pause that. Pause this. So we had power and ground confirmed. We had control. Now, what happened to our current? Look at that. Our current was about 10 amps, and then it decreased some more, 4 amps, and then blah, no fuel pressure, stalled out right here, kept driving the fuel pump, and then shut the fuel pump off. Very cool. So what does this seem to you guys? Electrical problem or mechanical problem inside the tank? Is it possible that this fuel pump could be, running for a while and then getting starved for fuel? Now this is a Volvo, so remember those 3 pumps I had in the tank, at least 2. There's probably a transfer pump that fills the main pump cavity. And this is, I think, what's going on. If that transfer pump doesn't run, it's not going to fill the main pump cavity, and after a minute, it's just going to die out. If when the car sits, that cavity kind of fills up passively, but it needs to be filling up using the transfer pump. I think that's exactly what's going on here, because if you start it up right away, it won't run for more than like 10 seconds. But if you let it sit, it'll run for a couple minutes. Right? So, we have to look up the procedure how to replace this fuel pump, or fuel pumps, plural. We'll have to see if the transfer pump is being commanded on. It's on the same blue wire, so if that blue wire is hot, the transfer pump just should be running all the time. The fuel pump control module just regulates the main pressure, higher pressure pump, the 60 psi one, that feeds the engine. So hopefully everything's accessible just by removing the seats and the carpet. There are 2 access holes. We have to do more research. But this right here, in one check, using an oscilloscope and a test light and scan data, we just proved that at least the main pump is fine. The CEM is doing what it should. The fuel pump control module is doing what it should. There are no wiring problems. It looks like either a bad transfer pump or something's not hooked up inside the tank. This car in this state, anything's possible. This car is not a virgin. Alright, so we're going after this fuel pump. Got the front, or this middle seat out of the way, all this other crap. So here's the electrical connector. This is indeed the late model design. So the 2 fat wires, that's for the high pressure pump, the white and black coming from the fuel pump control module. Then we have a blue, a brown, and a green. That's for the fuel level sensors. And then we have this blue and black. That's for the transfer pump. That's what I'm interested in. So you can see someone's already been here. And got some wiring going on. So let's at least, what can we do? Unplug this, put a test light on the blue and black. When we crank it, that should come on. If that comes on, then we have to go inside inside the tank. So at this point, the diagnosis, one last step, and we'll be able to say, is it an electrical problem, or do we need to go and get into this tank? I'm going to ask the owner if he's replaced a fuel pump. It doesn't look like it, but then again, this car is very questionable. And this problem just happened out of the blue, and all this other hack wiring stuff was done. I mean, this car might have been down for almost a year. I don't know, just like all the other Volvos. But let's get this connector off and just put a test light from the blue to the black See if that turns on. If it does, we can provide power and ground to those 2 pins, see if the transfer pump kicks on. If not, that's going to be our problem. Alright, so test light connected to the blue and the black. Now this is a 2 amp unit, so that pump should easily draw 2 amps. So you want to match the load if possible to the actual load. So let's crank it. Look at that bulb. Alright, here we go. Key on. So there should be a fuel pump prime. That circuit's good. Let's plug it in, measure the current on it. If there's no current going through the transfer pump, it needs a new pump. Alright, so next experiment, just put in a couple jumpers just for that low speed transfer pump going through these test leads, and I have a current clamp around the test lead. So when we turn the key on, if we don't see any current, it's going to be an open circuit inside the pump. We can also hear it, you know, if it turns on or not. So should be a pretty easy check. Alright, focus you guys in on the meter. Key on. Come on. Oh my God. Okay, so we did hear the pump, and we did hear the meter. Okay, about 2 amps on the low current, you know, on the low pressure pump. That's okay, so we don't see a smoking gun just yet. The problem's going to be inside the tank. Alright, so are we ready to call the fuel pump? So the only variable is we saw the current dropping off and the pressure dropping off, then the car stalled out. Is it possible that the fuel pump driver module is failing and not sending enough current to that high pressure pump, and then the pressure is dropping? Or is the pressure dropping causing a low current condition because it's easier to spin the pump? How do you tell? Well, that's why I used the oscilloscope in these captures. We can tell very easily. Check this out. So let's go to the first few frames when the car started up and ran fine. It's okay, start up, running normal, right? So the current right here, average current, is about almost an amp, about 0.9 amps. And I want to know how fast is this fuel pump spinning when the pressure is at 60 psi. So we can zoom in, we can clearly see the little humps of the, you know, up and down. So usually it's an 8 commutator you know, design. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What I like to do is you can kind of see the up and down, kind of like there's an upper point and there's an upper point. And if you want, you can count the humps between them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. You know, might be a 14 segment pump. I don't know. But to do an accurate measurement, you want to, let's say we'll count 5 of these humps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have about 1700 RPM. And we need to multiply that by 5. 1750 multiplied by 5, about 8700 RPM. So when running at 60 psi, we're at 8700 RPM at 10 amps. Now, zoom back out and go to the frames where the fuel pressure started dropping. So getting lower and lower and lower and lower, and then the car stalls out. So right here, let's say now we're down to 0.4 amps, so the current is about half of what it used to be. How fast is the pump spinning? Again, same measurement, zoom in. Let's go from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2224. So 2225 times 5. We're at 11,000 RPM now. So about 11,000 RPM at 4 amps. So that pump is spinning fine. There's nothing wrong with the fuel pump driver module or the wiring. It's an internal problem in that pump assembly where it's basically running out of fuel in the bowl. So now we're ready to call the customer and tell them what we found, and you want to write up an estimate in case the customer wants it fixed, obviously, parts and labor. So let's give the customer a call and see what they say. So parts and labor here, $500 pump, and almost 6 hours to install it because we have the 7-seat model. So this repair alone is close to $1,200 bucks. And for diag, I think a fair charge is about 3 hours because we have to remove wheels, seats, this and that, deal with the wipers, like all this extra stuff. You do have to add that in. So 3 hours of diag, 6 or 5.5 hours of labor estimate to repair it. And I have to guarantee it. I'm 100% sure the problem's in the fuel tank. We have to replace this fuel pump assembly. And could it have low fuel? Yeah, I don't think so. Because it, you know, runs fine for like 3 minutes, and then it starts doing its like 15-second run and stall. And then if you let it sit for a while, it's not like you're adding gas to the tank. So it's very repeatable. I'm gonna call the customer, ask him a couple questions like, did you change the fuel pump yet? You would think that'd be the first thing for low fuel pressure, even if you fire the parts cannon. I can't explain all this weird wiring hacks. Why do they have to replace like 5 modules? I have no idea. This car is a mystery, but it's only here for the stalling complaint, I hope, because I want it out the door. Alright, I had a very interesting conversation with the customer. He said that the fuel pump he already replaced 4 times. 3 junkyard pumps and 1 OEM dealer pump. He said the symptoms did not change. It still ran for the 3 minutes and then stalled out. And then he tried 3 different fuel pump control modules. Same exact symptoms. So that makes you second guess yourself. I'm like, it's got to be the fuel pump. He said the original pump is in it right now, and the original fuel pump control module is in it right now. He had some problems. The windshield wipers never worked when he first bought the car, so he had the central electronic module sent out for, you know, refurbishing, whatever. And they told him it was fixed, but he's still having problems with wipers, so it might be a problem on the car. And then he hot wired the wipers, you know, with that relay, with the all that stuff. So, and the ground wires were added by the owner. So all this stuff was done by the owner, and so I guess he's had this fuel pump out 4 times already. That blows my mind. We know the pump is spinning. Why is the pressure dropping? That's my question.